We've seen how number lines can be used to graph rational numbers. In this video, we will develop some techniques for calculating the distance between 2 points on such a number line. Let's start with an example. A kite reaches an altitude of 100 feet above the ground and then descends to an altitude of 37.5 feet above the ground. What is the total change in its altitude? Use the number line to solve. This number line shows the 0 mark, which is ground level, 37.5, and 100. Each tick mark represents a change of positive 5. If you start at 0 and count by 5 for each tick mark, you can verify the graphs of the 2 points. The distance between the 2 points is the distance the kite has descended. The distance is also known as the absolute value. To simplify counting tick marks from 37.5 to 100, let's start at this tick mark, which represents 40. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 tick marks. And since each is 5 feet, there are a total of 60 feet. Now we just add the portion from 37.5 to 40, which is 2.5. So the total distance is 62.5 feet. Absolute value is always positive, and we use the absolute value symbol to show the distance as shown here. Let's look at another example. A submersible is at a depth of 400 feet below sea level and then moves to a depth of 87.5 feet below sea level. What is the total change in its depth? Use a number line to solve. This number line shows the 0 mark, negative 87.5, and negative 400. Each tick mark represents a change of negative 25. If you start at 0 and count by negative 25 for each tick mark, you can verify the graph of the two rational numbers. The distance between the 2 points is the distance the submersible has traveled. This distance is also known as the absolute value. To simplify the count from negative 87.5 to negative 400, let's start at this point, which is negative 100. The distance from negative 100 to negative 400 is negative 300. So now we just need to add the portion from negative 87.5 to negative 100, which is negative 12.5. So the difference is negative 312.5. But absolute value is a distance measure, which is positive. So we enclose the number within absolute value brackets to find the distance, which is positive 312.5. Let's look at a final example. A bird from an altitude of 20½ feet above the waterline plunges into the water to capture a fish 5¼ feet below the waterline. Use a number line to find the vertical distance the heron traveled. Let's create a simple number line with only 0 marked. To graph the 2 points, let's convert the fractions to decimals. 20½ becomes 20.5, and negative 5¼ becomes negative 5.25. Here is the graph of the 2 points. To find the distance between the 2 points, we can find the absolute value of each point relative to 0, which is shown here. To find the distance between the 2 points, all we have to do is add the two absolute values. Just add 5.25 and 20.5. The result is 25.75. So the distance the bird traveled was 25.75 feet, taking into account the distance above the waterline and the distance underwater. You've seen how the absolute value is the distance between any 2 points on a number line. One technique used to find the distance involved counting the tick marks and knowing the value of each tick mark increment. Another technique, when one value is negative and another is positive, is to find separate absolute values and add them. In a later video, you will learn how to use rational number subtraction and the absolute value symbol to calculate this distance.